Entertainment Banter is a podcast that may use inappropriate language for some viewers, and as always, please wear your face mask while listening to the podcast. Thank you.
Welcome back to another evening of Entertainment Banter. My name is Joel.
And I'm Matt.
And today is very close to the opening of a very special movie. You may have heard of it. Not sure.
Might have. Yeah.
If you have not heard of it, you've probably been living underneath the rock for the last 20 years. Okay, maybe only 10. Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame.
It ends Phase 3. Technically, it ends Phase 3 for Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Spider-Man Homecoming in July officially ends it. But this is a huge ending. We say goodbye to a few people. We say hello.
Spoilers in case you haven't watched it, but by now you should have been able to watch it.
Everyone's already seen it. It is. Can we just go with numbers real quick? Facts before we start diving into the movie?
Yes, go for it.
The last movie to break records on an opening weekend from Friday to Sunday was, I believe, Force Awakens.
Yep.
It did $256 million from Thursday evening, or whatever time people call it, until Sunday closing.
Right.
Now, they predicted Avengers Endgame to beat that, but they didn't expect by how much it did. It went $100 million over. $350 plus million opening weekend.
Yeah.
Now, they did saturate the market more than any other movie ever because they were expecting this. They were playing it every 15 or even every 30 minutes in theaters. They had to figure out how to do it since it was the longest movie to date. It's 3 hours and 1 minute long. But globally, it's shattered even more numbers.
Yeah.
It did opening weekend $1.2 billion plus.
Crazy.
Insane.
Crazy.
Granted, the last movie that did opening like that, I think Star Wars Awakens, they did not open in China right away or something like that.
No.
This was opened in China right away. So this was up first for a lot of things. So needless to say, Iger printed more money.
Well, let's not give Iger the credit. Let's give the guys at Marvel Studios the credit and had the vision to do this from day one.
So let's dive in. Let's just dive in. So
what are we talking about first? Are we going to talk about the massive... Okay, well,
massive what?
Well, I was going to ask you, what are we going to dive in first? Are we going to talk about the massive projections of the movie, the money, the history of the cinematic universe? Or are we going to talk about the movie?
Can you just shut up?
It's very hard, but I'll try.
I would like to dive right in the beginning because the only thing that's on my mind right now is
how
much you predicted a lot of things that happened.
It's true, I did.
Remember,
I told my wife that on the way home.
We were talking about predictions in the movie in one of our other podcasts, probably the one you just listened to before this one. And Matt predicted that that Captain America would go back in time and not come back.
Yeah,
that happened.
Yep.
He lived a full life back in his time. You predicted Iron Man to disappear or get killed.
Yep.
Yeah, those are the two major things you predicted. We knew those two characters are going away. We just didn't know how they were going to go away.
Right.
But it was an interesting prediction. Like, you nailed him going back in time and not coming back. Like, when I saw him going at the end of the movie, like, I want to put these stones back, I'm like, he's not coming back.
Exactly. Yep.
I knew that. So you predicted that. I thought Nebula for a second had the gauntlet.
Yes, well, and I thought about that too watching it because I remember you telling me, because I'm not as big of a fan when it came to the Thanos mythology.
Right.
So I didn't actually know Nebula was the one that really went after him. So when you told me that, I was, especially when we had two Nebulas at one point, I was thinking, oh man, one of these chicks is going to totally do him in, and I thought that was going to be an interesting turn, but it didn't happen.
Well, they played it a little bit, but it's in the comics. We got to remember that the comics can be played out for a long time.
Sure,
the movie went through like probably 100 comics.
Of course, absolutely.
It just spawned through it real quickly. I mean, I thought it was really when the movie starts. Like, the movie just starts right away, right?
Right.
So the movie literally, the credit ends, and all of a sudden it just goes instantly. It just jumps right into the movie. We see Clint's life, and they disappear. And you predicted him going on a rampage.
Yep.
And that's what he was doing. So you predicted a lot of things that came to fruition. I found it very
screenwriting 101.
But it, like when the movie started and then they went to go after Thanos,
Yeah.
and then Thor just killed him. It was just like,
well, I gotta tell you, yeah. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're like jogging so many things I want to talk about. I can't keep up with you in my head. You know what I mean? Like you're bringing up so many great points, but
do you want to break it down? Like, so let's just talk about the movie then right now. So I just wanted to point out a lot of things you predicted that were actually pretty accurate. But let's break down the movie. Let's start. Do you want to talk about character development, where the characters went, or do you want to break it down each segment of the movie?
I'm gonna break it down. Let me just break it down one point, and then if I jog something you want to say, then please do so. But I have a feeling we're gonna need a part 1 and part 2 in this podcast since we've been talking about Marvel.
Timer, sorry.
That's okay. We're about, I think, 6 minutes in. So, well, the first thing I wanted to do a comparison game real quick between Avengers. Oh God, what was the name of the
Endgame?
And this was War. Endgame. What? Infinity War. Thank you.
Wow.
Infinity War and Endgame. One thing I wanted to mention right off the bat, which I thought was interesting between the two movies, and I'd only recognize this mostly because of my 2-year-old son, which, yes, I'm a good and terrible father. Good that I bring my 2-year-old son to see a badass movie. 2, I'm a terrible father because I bring my son to see a badass movie. But anyways, he was all excited to see Captain America, Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man. What's interesting is we didn't really see them in their costumes for about an hour 30 in. So what I wanted to point out between the two movies, first of all, the first one, action right away. Boom, we're in it. They're in their suits. They're fighting, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
This one, and this kind of surprised me, and I kind of expect the mourning process because everybody had disappeared, but I was surprised at how much time they took trying to pull the heartstrings and get to the heart of the individual characters and their stories, which I, as a writer, I appreciate. I think it's really well done. I was just surprised that they actually took the time to do it.
Since you compared the two movies, it almost felt like they're bizarro versions of themselves. Like, you watched Infinity War, it started with action, and it came to a halt, and it was the other way. And then this one was like slow halt to action, and then at the end of both movies, some group disappeared, which was really interesting, diverse. We saw the heroes lose the first one, and then the villains lost this one. It was really, I liked that, the contrast between the two movies.
But it was really, it was very interesting to watch them really take their time with the characters. It's boring for a 2-year-old looking to see, Captain Iron Man in his suit and Captain America in his suit, but yeah, they really focused on those individual characters and they really told their stories.
And it was great too, just to see, like you said, it was going to end with those three. It started with those three, and it did. When they went to go fight Thanos, it was those three going after him.
It was those three.
I mean, I kind of wish they were playing with time travel. I kind of just say this real quick. They're playing with time travel. It could go. They could take another 2 months, let Thor get back into shape before they started doing everything. What's another 2 months? What's another 2 months?
See, again, you're jumping all over the place. I can't keep up with you.
What's another 2 months, man?
Okay, all right. So here's the thing. One, when I saw Thor like that, I laughed my ass off. I always want, believe it or not, I want to see my rippling pectorals, but I actually thought that somewhere along the lines he was going to get back to normal. Like, one movie he loses an eye, but next movie he's got an eye again. You know what I mean? It's like, we had him get ugly, but we can't have our ugly Thor, so he's got to get his pretty eyes back. You know what I mean? And I thought at some point, okay, he's fat and chubby, but
they're going to do some kind of cheesy montage
and
get him back into shape, right?
Yeah, he's going to be sexier than ever.
When he got the hammer back and everything, he's like,
but it never came. And it's funny. My wife, you were jokingly recording us before we started the podcast, but I was talking to my wife, and I said to her, I go, you know what? The way I took that is like they were giving eye candy to the ladies for 20 movies, 10 years. They gave this movie to the fans. They gave it to the nerds. They're like, oh, it's guys find that hilarious when a sexy man totally lets himself go and has beers and now he's one of us. He's a guy again. Yeah, no guy can stay that ripped forever. It's and so we were laughing because it's like It's not what women would expect. And we're like, yeah, take that, girlfriend, take that, wife. You can't look at your eye candy now.
That's so
We
funny.
don't look so bad, do we? You know what I mean? Like that's what happens to every man. So I don't care how ripped you are, Joel, or anybody else for that matter. When the time comes, you're gonna look like that at some point in your life. It's bound to happen. But I thought that was a funny thing that they
moment.
did.
I like the moment that like you almost got to rekindle all the movies.
Yes.
Like you almost had to watch all the movies for this movie to understand when they went back in time. They
Yes.
visited all these movies.
Okay, so that is the next great point. And conversation piece. Can I just tell you, they did the best job of confusing me when it came to the time travel bullshit. What they did.
They took the other movies and they all shat on them.
It's a writer's cop out. It's a writer's cop out, but it was done brilliantly. So this is how I took it. Okay, first of all, they even mentioned it. Like they even mentioned Back to the Future, and they said
multiple times.
And they mentioned all the other time travel movies too. They basically said, "Hey, they basically said, like, hey, we're gonna do time travel." But they knew all the nerds in the world were gonna be like, "Oh, okay, well, how do you do time travel? If you do this, that's gonna change that, and you do that, it's gonna change that." And so they just wrote themselves out by saying, "Nope, you can't. You change it, it doesn't matter. It's going to be this way, and that's how it is."
No,
and
I like how Nebula is like, and then like they're talking to the. Technically, Banner was the Gray Hulk. The Gray Hulk's the intelligent, strong Hulk.
I actually didn't know it was gray, but okay.
He's supposed to be gray, and he's
but
not
for our
as
benefit,
strong
he's still green.
as Green Hulk because it's all brute force.
Right.
So when he and Nebula were like, no, if you go to the past, that becomes now your future. And they just explained it so elegantly, and they used quantum science, and it was just like, no,
well, that's what I'm saying. They threw in that bullshit stuff.
It doesn't fucking work that way.
They just threw in the bullshit. They talked bullshit long enough for your brain to be like, okay, whatever, it must be true. You know what I mean? Like just accept it. It's what? If you try to think about it, you're gonna ruin the whole movie.
It made more sense than the other. Like they're making fun of Back to the Future and like all the other movies that went back in time.
All those ones were dumb, but this one's the way to go. Well, no, I know, and like it's funny because, like I said, it reminded me of the Matrix, like the third Matrix movie. Or no, it was the second Matrix movie where they get into that room with all the TV monitors, all the different outcomes, and they just give you like this 20-minute monologue of bullshit, and you're just like, after a while, you're just like, okay, we get it, whatever. It's just it can be anything, like that's how I looked at it. Because if you thought about it long enough, you're like, no, wait, that would change and this would change, and you could do this. You could run in circles forever in this movie if you really wanted to.
You know what I think? When Thor goes back to his home, was it Ragnarok? Is that the movie he invaded? Was it Ragnarok?
He invaded?
Well, he went back in time to Ragnarok.
Asgard, you mean?
Yeah, well, Asgard. But
he went back to Asgard.
But it was during Thor 2,
which had been destroyed by that point.
It was Thor 2.
Based on
Thor 2 or 3?
Well, Ragnarok is when Asgard got destroyed.
Oh, that was 3. So he went back to Thor movie 2.
Yeah, or the first one, or whichever one his mother died in.
Natalie Portman did not go there the first. It was the second one.
I think it was the first one his mother died.
Natalie Portman did not go to Asgard the first one.
You're right.
And I just found it funny, like, he calls on the hammer, and he takes it, and then he goes back with Rocket, right?
Right.
And my first thought is, he just stole the hammer from his spell! Right. What the hell?
That's why I'm saying you can't think about it, because it just ruins it. So that's why I thought it was funny how they handled it. They were just like,
who's watched the movie with me? I'm like,
time travel.
He just took Thor's hammer, and he goes, yeah, he's Thor. I'm like, no, he took other Thor's hammer.
Yeah, just watch the movie. You know what? Just it's like you can't think about it.
And
stupid.
All they got that hammer for is for that cheap joke at the end when Captain America was fighting with the hammer and he had the big one, and Thor goes, "No, give me the big one. You get the little one."
Yeah. Well, and also they needed it because Captain America was worthy, which was a cool scene.
He was worthy in the comics.
Yeah.
He was built to be worthy, so it's a big scene in the comics. Actually, he's on the cover of the comic with him holding the hammer and lightning.
That's cool.
It was a really cool scene when that happened.
See, I love it when they do honors like that.
Another comic book cover was Captain America standing there with all of Doctor Strange's things behind him, and he goes, "Avengers, assemble!" And that's
Nice.
and that is the only time. Neat fact, I believe you could hopefully someone fact check me. That is the only time Captain America said "Avengers Assemble" in all these movies.
Yes, I think that might be true.
He almost said it a couple times, but he only said it in this movie.
Right. Well, you were waiting for it. You know, he had to say it at least once.
Well, yeah, and I think there's still chances for him to have another movie if he wants to, because he went back in time to put the Infinity Stones back. It could be a mini series, it could be anything.
There could be a Captain America Wolverine.
Exactly. He may see Wolverine at that point. Who knows? Who helps him put the stone back or stops him? Who knows? But make note that only Captain America and Robert Downey Jr. are the only ones who are not doing movies anymore.
Right.
Thor is now a guardian of the galaxy.
Yes, which is interesting. So let's get back to.
Let's get back to. Okay,
there's too much talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is, story-wise, there was a lot of turns that I did not see coming.
Me too.
I was actually surprised, and I mean, now granted, I didn't read the comics, but like for example, I thought we were going to have some sort of thing where the quantum realm, like when they mentioned the quantum realm, that the stones were like destroyed to the molecule of atoms. Yeah, I thought they were literally going to go to the quantum realm and look for the stones as atoms, you know, and put them back together that way or something. I definitely did not see them killing Thanos in the first 5 minutes of the film. I was like, what? They're going already?
Dude, when they killed Thanos, I'm just like, wait. They don't kill Thanos
and
like
you
that.
See
they don't kill him in the comics like that.
Yeah, and you see 5 years later, you know, and it's like, wow, you know, and that's what I'm saying. They took the time to get personal. Yeah, but they took the time to take it personal. You know what I mean? Like, they had 5 years of sucky world, you know?
Well, that 5
and how they handled it.
They're going to probably do miniseries. Because, like, Daredevil and all those shows.
That's a great point.
All those shows that are in New York at that time can easily be miniseries and see the struggles of the life.
Well, Black Widow is going to get her own TV show on Disney Plus. So
I think Doctor Strange is,
and Hawkeye is too,
and so is Loki.
Yeah,
because he's still alive with the. He took the fucking stone.
Yeah, and he disappeared.
The Tesseract.
That's what I'm saying. You can't keep track of the story arc and the time travel because it's all over the place. They literally wrote so many loopholes, and it's unstoppable now. I mean, you could bring anything back at this point if you really wanted to.
That is America's ass.
Yeah. Oh, so get it. All right, so fun things that happened in the movie in my head, the parallels. I loved the parallels. Like, the last time Captain America was in an elevator full of Hydra agents, he kicked the crap out of all of them.
Also the fact that they did a shout out to that comic that made him a Hydra.
Yes,
and they used it. I thought that was brilliant.
It was a brilliant tease. Yes, and Hydra. You know what else I thought was interesting is again, this goes back to that whole time travel thing, and the loopholes they created. But Captain America fought Captain America. What if by that interaction, the Captain America that we all knew and loved from whatever at the end of the first Avengers movie, that the one he fought, the younger one, becomes that Hydra guy as a result of this interaction?
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Well, he thought he was Loki, so.
Right. Now I know, but I'm just saying, like, after the events unfold, we can see that what happens to all these other characters, you know, that ran into themselves. Here's another thing too. Sorry, I just can't help myself right now. I loved, and you tell me what you think. All the personal, they each had their moments. The main characters each had their moments to go back and talk to the ones they loved. Iron Man got to talk to his dad. Thor got to talk to his mom.
Right.
And Captain at least saw his lady, and then towards the end of the movie, and went back to her. What did you think about those moments?
I think I didn't even think about it till you mentioned it. But as soon as he went down to go find the stone inside the military base, and I saw the guy, I'm like, well, there's Howard Stark. Like, he's going to interact with them, and it's just interesting how that interaction was, and it makes you think, like, did Howard Stark have an interaction with a guy like Tony, and that's why Tony became who he is?
Yeah, well, I mean, they said that doesn't affect the time, so it wouldn't. But my thought was, I'm thinking more on the lines of storytelling.
It was great.
Do you think Do you think it was good, or do you think it was a distraction from the
They
story?
had their moments.
Do you think it was closure for each one of them? Like,
Well, that's the thing. So if you notice, Robert Downey Jr. got his closure with his dad a little bit to see
right,
who his dad was, and that like how his dad said like he'd be, if I have a son, he's gonna be the most important thing in my world, And he
right,
got the videos from his dad growing up, like near in Iron Man 3 or 2, where he got to see the videos of his dad, and he kind of finally got to see who his dad was. So to interact with that and like give him the hug at the end, I think it was a very sentimental moment. Thor to see his mom one more time, because she's gonna die, and he was gonna tell her, and she said, "Do not tell me, do not change my path, my future,"
yep,
kind of thing. And she accepted her fate, and she knew that was the Thor from the future. Like, it's kind of interesting how she knew.
Well, she said she was a witch, which I didn't know, but
just notice that those two got to interact.
Yeah,
and Captain America did not, and so he went back.
That's a good point too. Yep,
to have his interaction.
Right.
My question
is,
did they have
it always pulls on your possible. You know what? Again, you mentioned kids. At the end of the movie, at Iron Man's funeral,
right?
They do a tribute to every group and movie.
If you consider their families, those are their families.
Right. There was one mannish boy standing alone. Do we know who he was? Who was he?
Iron Man 3, the kid that hid Tony Stark.
Really? That's who it was?
And did you stay till the end of the movie?
I did, but I'll be honest with you, I had a lot of soda and I was doing in my power not to piss my pants.
Did you hear the clank, clank?
I did. Yes.
It's supposed to be similar to the same sound that Tony was making when he was building the Mach 1, right?
Yes.
But the theory is that it's the kid building a new Iron Man suit.
Even though Pepper's taken on a suit.
So is War Machine. But I don't think Pepper Potts is going to be another Iron Man. There are other Iron Mans that take on the suit while Tony's still alive. They've never killed Tony Stark off in the comics.
No. The last one I read was the Ultimates, where he goes into space. He did
die, but he didn't really die. So Robert Downey Jr. is not coming back. Tony Stark's dead.
Right.
The theory is this kid's going to be the new Iron Man. I looked it up because I was curious. No child has taken on the Iron Man suit, so this may be a whole new game.
Right. Well, is it the actual same actor, the same kid actor?
I don't know if it's the same actor, but he's supposed to be the kid from Iron Man 3.
Interesting. And how did you find that out?
I had to Google it.
All right. Well, that's interesting because
one random fan said it's Captain America's kid. I'm like, no,
that doesn't make any sense. He wouldn't
be there then.
Yeah. That's interesting. If it would be the kid that Iron Man helped.
Can we take a moment to take notice of how little Brie Larson was in this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be. We're talking politics. So this is
was
the
she
politics.
Supposed to be in the movie again fully, or is this really how they wanted the movie to be with her?
Man, this is a touchy subject because. Are you sure you want to talk about this? Because we only have a couple minutes, and we got to talk about part 2.
We could talk about. We can do a whole. Let me put that down. We're going to talk about.
If we start this now, I'm not going to finish it in time.
Captain Marvel.
Role in Avengers Endgame.
In Avengers.
All right. Well,
that's another topic.
All right. Let's talk about Black Widow for a second. Given her life not being able to come back.
They could have. You don't think they could have figured that out? I mean, it did. It wrecked Hulk big time, and it killed Tony, which I thought was an amazing scene when he took it and he had him on his glove. Amazing. And I thought the use of how Thanos was fighting with the glove, too, was very useful when he threw the Power Stone off and he grabbed it in his other hand and punched Captain Marvel. I thought that was very...
See, okay. Oh, my God. That's what happened. Okay, so listen. I got to be honest with you. I can't talk about that scene. That's one of the scenes I wanted to talk about. I can't talk about that right now.
Which scene?
We got to move on. The one you're talking about. I can't talk about it right this second. I got to save it for the next one. So I was talking about Black Widow. I said when she jumped off that exchange between her and Hawkeye. That was an emotional scene too, right? Like the two of them. Like Hawkeye lost his entire family.
So emotional.
And that was his best friend. That was the closest person he had.
So emotional.
And like
Did you see the parallel to it too? Because that's when Gamora got killed. Like it was just like they redid the whole movie of Infinity War just on the hero side.
Yes,
isn't that interesting?
Yes, I know.
Thanos collected the stones to get to Infinity War. The heroes had to collect the stones to do Endgame.
And I was really glad that they gave Hawkeye so much due. I thought his character.
Well, his
I know
last movie.
Iron
I don't
Man
think
had a
he's
lot
coming
to
back.
lose.
Oh, he's doing his own TV series.
He's doing his TV show. But what I'm saying is, his character had the most to lose in a way, you know. And besides Tony obviously
Tony had the most to lose.
a new thing to lose. Yeah, yeah, and like tearjerkers, you know, like it's funny because I had a good friend and they had their first kid, and like I remember his wife saying, you know, she was a wreck whenever children were in movies now because she starts thinking about her kid, and I. In my head, I was like a young guy at the time, and I just kind of like scoffed in my head, thinking like, "Okay, ooh, it's so sad because now kids are involved." But like, it's funny because when you have your kids, it's true. So I'm pathetic and I'm a hypocrite. But when they were at the funeral and Happy was there, and he said, "Are you hungry?" And you want? He's like, "Should I have a cheeseburger?" You know, yeah, I'll get you a cheeseburger. I'll get you a whole bunch of cheeseburgers. I was like, in my head, you know what I mean? How can you not well up with something like that? You know, it's just. They did a good job getting the emotional strings pulled on this one. And it's because they took the time. Like I said, they took the time to focus on the family. And I think that was huge. I mean, Hawkeye going back and hearing his daughter's voice, but then he has to leave before he gets to see her. I mean, what a tease, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and like the phone call, you know, his wife's calling him. It's just,
and then,
you know?
And then Ant-Man saying, like, I think we did it. And the whole compound just got blown up
yes.
so quick. Holy fuck.
Well,
I thought Ant-Man was dead.
Yes, I did too. But he was smart enough to shrink. I thought, too, what was interesting was, like, when that attack happened, like, yes, we did it. Great, you did it. But now they're all dying because even though Thanos showed up there and destroyed Avengers' location, who's to say they weren't just bringing those ships all over the world and just destroying people? Like, just brought them back just to kill them again, you know? Like, I didn't know that was a possibility or not. We didn't see that side of the coin, if they were all there or if they were everywhere, you know?
When Captain America stood up against Thanos and his whole army, in my mind, I'm like, here it comes. They're all going to appear right now. And I just thought in my head, like, I thought of the saying that, you know, Black Panther would say, what does he say when he stands there? He goes,
Wakanda forever?
No, before they fight.
I don't know what he says.
Saw it.
I don't remember him saying anything. I think it was kind of like
or what is it?
Or whatever, Mumbai or whatever. But that's their chant.
I know, he started doing the chant. That's all I heard in my head, and all of a sudden, and he appears through. I'm like, I knew it.
All right, well, here's the thing. Here's the problem. Well, the first thing we hear is Falcon in his ear, his comm.
Oh, Sam.
And yeah, and you think for a second that it might be War Machine because who else would be talking to him? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then you realize it's Sam. It's tough because, like I said, we're gonna have to stop it and continue because we're talking about things that involve Captain Marvel, and I want to talk Captain Marvel with this. You know, like, I can't talk about that scene you're just describing because Captain Marvel interrupts it, and I wanted to talk about that.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's end this podcast. Let's end it on this note. I want to end it on this note. What did you think of Captain America handing over the shield to Falcon? And not Bucky.
And Bucky. I actually didn't mind it. I've always expected it. I always hoped it would happen. I wasn't surprised, and I'm kind of glad it went that way.
Me too, because Bucky's a shitty character.
Yeah. Well, the way they did, again, it's all about storytelling. You know, if Bucky was brought into this story in a different light, it would be a different. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it on that, because as good as Bucky, like his character throughout the whole cinematic universe went down a dark path. Was it his choice? No, but he went down a dark path. His character was quote unquote tainted. Then you have Sam, and Sam was that quiet, loyal guy that was always there. He was just like Bucky before Bucky got tainted, but Sam has always been pure of heart. He never did anything wrong. It just feels right that he would be like that all-American good guy. You know what I mean? With Bucky, I'd be like, are you gonna snap if someone says cheeseburger? Are you gonna snap into your Winter Soldier again and start shooting people? I don't
They
know.
pick a more complicated word like fuzzy buzz.
Right. But you know what I mean? But whereas with Sam, you never get that feeling. You know you're in good hands with Sam. He's like that guy that's always got your back. He did. He always had Cap's back,
Well
no matter what.
said. So with that, let's start up. Let's end this and start another one right up.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to Entertainment Banter.
And if this is the only one you want listen to this evening, hope it was a good one.
All right. Well, I'm Matt.
And I'm Joel. And I'm done. Are you waiting for an invitation? Just click next already.